thank you. That was an introduction and a half, Justin. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this webinar, Foundations for Data-Centric Marketing, KPIs, Tools and Techniques. So just as a kind of think about this for a moment, is it possible for your entire marketing team to have clear goals, timeframes for achieving them, and key metrics to measure their success? And can we actually use these metrics to gain influence with our executive team in the C-suite? Well, So, just if you want to tweet, if you'd like to get involved in our hashtag Outside Insight, please feel free. And as Justin mentioned, the whole point of this is that it's educational and we share thought leadership and we discuss and we think about things. So please don't be shy. Come on board, have a little chin wag with us and get engaged. Okay, so hello, I'm Heidi Myers. I basically head up marketing for Meltwater across Europe, Middle East and Africa, and I've worked in sales and marketing specifically within the marketing industry. So I market to marketeers, which is quite an unusual marketing role, and I've been in this industry now for coming up 15 years, and I've worked both agency and in-house. And I think we've all seen a huge shift in marketing in the industry and for our positions, especially since the digital age has really made such a huge impact. And I think if we look historically at our roles, a lot of people may have argued, or said, certainly I've had these kind of conversations where we're fluffy, we're seen as, marketing, what do they really do? They do these fabulous events and they, drink wine and mingle or whatever, but really, what is the ROI here? What do they really contribute? And now, with the digital kind of era, we really are able to quantify every single thing that we do, and we are able to showcase the ROI and earn the seat at the table, as it were. So yeah, I wanted to talk you through some of these things, but without further ado, let's jump straight in. So can you imagine, let me just move my cursor so you guys can't see that, but can you imagine what would happen if your marketing team really just worked together and we all set goals and we had clear timeframes to achieve the goals, and then we measured the results and then we reported them? I think we've all been taught that the only way you can really reach your goals is to write them down on a piece of paper and break them into incremental steps and then measure how we're doing along the way. But if we added a time frame to our goals, then we're less tempted to just let things get the better of us and go on the back page, as it were. So if we have goals and we have a time frame, and then we can actually measure the results, so we know if we've met the goals, our marketing specific KPIs, we know whether we've truly transformed our marketing. And the truth is, as I am, much happier, more fulfilled in our careers as marketeers if we can do these things. But more importantly, our goals, if they are driven by hard data, which historically has been more difficult for us to be able to say, yes, that's the case, our marketing team can really earn that critical credibility and earn respect from the C-suite. I, for one, when I'm discussing my reports and my targets and those sorts of things with the executives, they want to speak in results. And those results are deals and their revenue for the company and lead gen. So basically, how does marketing impact the bottom line? And if we can measure and report on all of the deals and revenue, we'll be seen as really respected and have an influence at the board level. So ultimately, it all revolves around data. So it's really important that our marketing teams are, in fact, data-centric. Okay, so to make the discussion the most meaningful to you, what we're going to do throughout this webinar is we're going to break down the discussion to three pretty broad defined job functions. So we're all working in marketing and lots of different people have got different roles within that. But ultimately, you're going to be either communications, digital, or customer marketing. And some of you will be, yep, exactly one of those of the three, fall flat into that, while some of you wear multiple hats, like my team here at Meltwater. We're all doing lots of different things. And you'll be able to relate maybe more to one KPI than another. But by reviewing these areas, we'll get a better understanding how our roles are interconnected and how we can actually drive marketing success. So here are the 3 steps that we're going to cover. First, we're going to explore how do we set the right KPIs. It might seem quite simple, but you'd be surprised how many people just are measuring the wrong things that impact their roles. Next, we're going to talk about the right tools. And finally, how do we generate the right reports? And then what we'll do at the end, and as Justin said, he can jump in at any point and we can have a little discussion, but anything else we'll deal with at the end. So we'll have a questions and answers session at the end. All right, so key performance indicators are a great way to make goals more tangible and quantify what was, up until recently, unquantifiable. The team's likely to have a few shared goals, but how do you choose individual KPIs for each team member? I suppose the answer really depends on which role the person fills, and so we're going to be looking at that now. And as I mentioned, as we go through the discussion, I'm going to break these roles down into those 3 points, so communications, digital, and customer marketing. All right, so first and foremost, let's look at the communications KPIs. So this area includes roles, I suppose, like content, PR, social. They'll have their own variants, but their goals are likely to center around eyeballs, how many people are seeing things. These are the KPIs that let communications people know whether they're reaching their audience effectively, what they should focus on to increase engagement. So let's look at some of the KPIs that you would need or you should be really looking at measuring. Okay, so top one there is content marketer. So if you're a content marketer, kind of KPIs that I would expect that you would have. The first one really is unique visitors to the blog. Hopefully you guys are all blogging. If you're not blogging, then that's something else that you might want to consider. But you want to be tracking, if you do have a blog, if you do have content that you're driving traffic to your website, how many visitors do you get to that blog? So the number of people that visited the content you've posted in a particular time period. So at Meltwater, we measure things on a quarterly basis. The second thing you might want to consider is social shares of that blog content. So how many times was it shared on Facebook, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, etc. And the average time on the page for the blog posts. So this is something that you can measure from Google Analytics, which tracks the amount of time the average person spends on a particular page. And then you have blog traffic as a percentage of total site traffic. So quite self-explanatory, the percentage of people who visit the website and actually land on your blog. And then you have also return visitors to the blog, people coming back that have already been on the site. And hopefully you'll be able to be tracking those sorts of things. The second one is PR specialist. The sort of KPIs a PR specialist might need to think about. One, active coverage. So when we say active coverage, how much press or PR has been generated by the team in-house? Share of voice, so the percentage of coverage that you've managed to generate versus your competitors. Potential reach, the sum of the viewership in the publications and websites that you've managed to get. So how much reach did your PR hit manage to reach? Sentiments, are people happy? Advertising value equivalent, of course. And finally, the social media marketeer. So the sorts of KPIs that you might want to think about are all about audience, really, I suppose. So audience size, how many followers you have, the channels, total engagement, so the number of shares and comments and likes and retweets and how much people are engaging with you, direct mails. The engagement rate, which is the number of people actively engaged with your posts, number of followers. The number of times your company was mentioned, for example. The sentiment, was it positive or negative? Are people saying good things or bad things? Or are they just not really either way? And the average engagement per post. And the number of times, of course, that a random post is shared on average. So those are the sorts of KPIs you might have. So as a quick poll number one, what I'd like to do is just ask everybody, I don't know, there we are, hopefully you can see a little poll pop up there. So if you do fall into this category, if you're in comms marketing, which role do you fit into? Or are you a Marcom generalist, as, for example, my team is here at Meltwater? Yeah, so if you could just take 2 seconds to click one of those bad boys, but we're also going to be coming to the next breakdown shortly. Okay. All right, so moving on. I'm not sure how many of you would be familiar with this. This is the way that we actually manage digital. So if we move on to digital, this is the demand waterfall, and it's based on, well, it's a serious decisions demand waterfall model. So the people that you know, are really working towards this kind of a model would be marketing ops, search engine optimizers, you know, conversion rate optimizers, sometimes acquisition managers. They're likely to be very data focused. So you might want to ask their opinion on what success looks like to them when you're setting their KPIs. So the serious decisions demand waterfall model, it puts prospects into different buckets based on their step in the sales cycle. So just to go through what this is, raw inquiries, this is basically, for want of a better word, a potential client or a prospect who's putting their hands up and saying, hey, I'd like to know more. Then the next part of the funnel is the MQL, and that is marketing qualified leads. And what this is, you know, has marketing deemed this worthy enough to send through to sales? Then you have the sales accepted leads. So do sales think that's also a good lead? Do they agree with you? And there's always a percentage that drop out here. And then you have the sales qualified leads. Yes, they've actually said yes, it's a good lead, thank you. And then the closed section. So as a separate question, a quick poll again, is anyone using Serious Decisions model? This is a really, really good way of tracking how you can be successful in your demand gen plans. So I don't know if we can just pop up that poll, so just a yes, no. Anyone using the Serious Decisions waterfall? Because if you're not, I would highly recommend looking into the way this kind of model to really drive your demand gen. All right. Okie dokie, so moving on, let's look at the KPIs that you might have for digital. So tracking the number of bookings attributable to marketing is obviously crucial to all members of the team. But you may also want to track the conversion rate between the stages of the sales cycle. And then you can, you know, reward lead quality over lead quantity. So, for example, a data dive might show you that while you know, a person at an event or going to an expo brings you hundreds of leads, maybe 200 leads, you go to Marketing Week Live, or you go for, you guys, you might go to Retail Week or whatever, and you get 100 leads, but actually the one that's driving the most bookings is pay-per-click advertising, for example. So then we can assume that PPC leads a better quality, and we can justify spending more money on them, really. So the digital team would be measuring a wide variety of KPIs, depending on which function they fit into. So again, we went through the detail, but raw inquiries, MQLs, SALs, sales qualified leads, and the conversion rate between the different stages. So that would be a marketing kind of ops manager. But then for the web marketer, you know, overall visits would be something of importance. The total number of visits to the site during a certain time period. So if one person visits twice, that counts as 2 hits. Unique visitors, which is obviously the total number of people who visited the site during a certain time period. If one person visits twice, it counts as 1. Visits per channel, so the number of visits from specific channels like referral or paid search or social or email, etc. Website conversions, the number of raw inquiries coming from the website during a certain time period, and even better if you can then break that out by channel. And cost per conversion. So this is a PPC metric that tracks the average amount you pay to receive one conversion over a certain period of time. Then you've got the SEO specialist. We all know, you know, search engine optimization, huge role now, increasing in importance and relevance within each marketing team, but driving traffic from organic search, the number of visits over a certain period of time who reach the website from the search engine, Google mainly. PageRank, a Google metric basically that uses an algorithm to determine the importance of any given website or web page based on the quantity and quality of the inbound links. Now, I appreciate this is getting quite technical, but basically PageRank is how good is the inbound links that you've got. According to Google. Domain authority, so this is a metric created by SEO software company Moz, for those of you that are familiar, and this predicts how well a website will rank on search engines using a 100-point scale, basically. There's also the rank to increase target keywords. So this is an improvement in search engine result page rank over time for a specific search queries that were determined in advance. And conversions from organic search. So sophisticated setups that can basically track leads from their source all the way through the marketing funnel. And this also tracks who converted via organic search. And finally, the acquisition manager. So this is really their focus would be number of A/B tests run. So to encourage continuous improvement, the best thing to do would be set a benchmark for the number of tests run during the quarter. They'd also be interested in testing success rate, so the percentage of tests that led to a positive result, an increase in whichever metric you were tracking. Traffic increase from testing, so the amount of traffic that you managed to gain in the month following a test compared to the same period before the test was run. Conversion increase from testing, so since tests are designed to improve conversions, tracking the increase in conversions from the variation that was deemed successful. And finally, bookings increase from testing, so tracking bookings in a similar way that show that you're not only increasing lead quantity, but also lead quality. Okay, digital was a bit of a mouthful. So if we could just do a quick poll now, poll number 5, poll number 4, and that poll should be coming up on the screen. Okay, well, I can't see it, but the poll basically, there we are. So if you're in digital marketing, which role do you have? And again, are you a digital generalist? Do you tick any of these specific boxes, or do you do a bit of everything, which I know lots of people are doing? Okay, so moving on. Okay, KPIs for customer marketing. There's only one here. There's only one set of KPIs for the customer marketing manager. So the customer marketing group, they've probably got the most interesting KPIs, I'd say. So a B2B software as a service company, a bit like Meltwater, what we would measure would be additional sales or lost customers. So we call that churn, right? So other types of companies might focus on similar types of segments during the buyer's journey. But the customer marketing team normally has a singular focus on growth within an existing customer base. So if you want to go a bit deeper, you might want to set a goal for the customer marketeer on things like, case studies, customer quotes, brand advocates, maybe something like average customer lifetime value, which is also known as APV. So for the customer marketing manager, there are a few metrics that we would recommend that you put in place, and the first one is the Net Promoter Score, or you could call it NPS, which is a metric built from survey responses. What you do is you'd send a point scale used to determine the likelihood of a customer referring business to you. So they would be given between 0 and 6 as a negative as a detractor, 7 and 8 would be a neutral, and 9 to 10 would be a promoter. And obviously you really want to get as many promoters as possible. And then what you do is you subtract the percentage of detractors from the percentage of promoters, and that would get you the Net Promoter Score. Yeah, so we all know what upsell is, but just to be really clear, upsell is when a customer who buys product A, so let's say something like a green dress, right? So you buy a green dress and then you upsold something along the same lines within maybe it's a pair of shoes or whatever from the same clothing line, whereas cross-sell would be buying the green dress and then buying something from the jewelry stand, which is a separate department, for example. Gross churn, just to explain the terms here, is the percentage of customers up for renewal who do not renew. And net churn is the those up for renewal, so the gross churn number who do not renew, but plus the sales of upsells, so it balances with the upsells. All right. So that was a little bit about KPIs. I'd like to, just before we move on, maybe...
Heidi, sorry, it's Justin here from the Drum. Just want to jump in because I've got a very interesting question here from our Jen Smith. It's relating to your previous slides when you say at the box at the bottom said there are new KPIs being developed all the time. So Jen's question is, what's the danger of not keeping up with all these new KPIs you mentioned?
So what's the danger of not keeping up with the new KPIs?
Yeah, you say at the bottom of your slide you said there's new KPIs being developed all the time. I guess people are worried about, do they have to make sure they're on top of all these new KPIs? Do they have to keep reading the blogs all day, as it were? What are your tips?
A lifetime of blog reading, isn't it? No, but I would say, look, you know, it depends. You can't necessarily do everything, and you have to look at your KPIs based upon your role within the organisation and what is success. Because for some people, like if you talk to your executive team, success for them might be very different. In terms of maybe they don't want to focus on cross-sell or gross churn, for example. Maybe it's much more about new business opportunities and growing your new data, you know, your new client base. So what I would say is it important? Yes, in an ideal world, we'd have every KPI checked and all the new ones that are coming in being monitored. But on an individual basis, I think you have to sit down with your exec team and figure out what is the most important thing for you for that particular quarter or that particular year. How does it fit into the overall business strategy? Where is the company going? What's the vision? And how do we then fit that in? And if, for example, at Meltwater, we really are focusing a lot on customer retention and making customers happy, historically it would have been much more driving new business, and so there's been a shift in our focus areas and our KPIs a lot more on these sorts of things. Are people happy? Are they going to be brand advocates? So I think it depends on the business. I hope that answers the question at least a little bit.
I hope that's good for you, Jen. Sorry, I'll let you carry on, Heidi. Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's good. No, that's good. I think we've got a poll actually. Poll number 6. So if you are in customer marketing, do you have these KPIs? I'm interested to know, you know, do you actually have the KPIs that we've been discussing, or are you doing something totally different? And that's for everybody. Like, is it for what we've been going through? Do you feel like the KPIs that we're discussing here match what you're actually being measured on? Just interesting to see. Okay. Moving on. So choosing the right tools. So we've spoken about KPIs, and hopefully you've got a really clear, very detailed understanding of how, you know, you should be being measured depending on what your role is, and depending also, of course, on what your business is focusing on. But now we're going to talk about tools, because you really do need the right tools in order to achieve lots of these things. So yeah, we need to be able to track the KPIs with the relevant tools. So here we are, your marketing technology stack. The combination of tools that your company uses is basically known as this, their marketing technology stack, and choosing the right tools involves making big decisions. So some software is built really to play very nicely with technology that you've already got, whereas other tools can be a huge problem to integrate. I've seen a lot of examples of, you know, tools that people have purchased that just don't sync with each other. So we're going to take a look at some of the tools available to your marketing team. There are lots of choices, and we are just skimming the surface, but hopefully it gives you a starting point if you are in, you know, shopping to build any of this stack, as it were. Okay, so the most important decision is probably the CRM system. So CRM, so it's Customer Relationship Management System. So I'm guessing that most people here would have one of these. It's a cross-departmental team-agnostic platform, and it's basically the heartbeat of your company. It's the foundation of any marketing technology stack. And so all your customer data, from, you know, demographics to whether they've purchased something and who spoke to them last, that all lives in the CRM. Some companies use a really simple spreadsheet to track their data. You know, you can use Excel. I know of companies, small startups that are doing that, while others use very sophisticated, really enterprise level software. So regardless of what system you use, your CRM is the place to go if you have a question about your prospects or your customers. So whether you choose Salesforce, there's obviously others, but you've got Microsoft and Zoho here, or you might have a homegrown CRM that's been created in-house. But it's important to make the choice and stick with it, because once you've made the choice, migrating to another system could be a logistical nightmare. So now we're going to just look at how these CRM options can play with other marketing tools that you might choose. Oh, before we do that though, just a quick question. We haven't got a poll this time, so if you could just give us a little update in your questions section. Which CRM tool have you found the most useful, or which are you using? Is there one that you like? Is it one that you've had an experience with? And that would be really cool to find out. Okay. Communications tools that can play really nicely.
Sorry, Heidi, sorry to interrupt again, but just loads of suggestions that are coming in, or recommendations. But there's a quick question here from Dylan I thought was interesting. Maybe it's a smile. He asks, what if you have 5 CRM systems? You talk about some people have massive enterprise level, some people have homegrown systems. What if you have a plethora of CRM systems? What challenges does that throw up?
If you have, lots of companies will be using lots of different systems, right? But a CRM system for marketing is where you shouldn't be using, I mean, I don't know the details of this, but I'm just thinking in terms of your prospects and your client base, they should all be sitting in one place. If you're saying that you have prospects in one, in one CRM system that's not synced with another prospect or client base, in another CRM system, then I would say that's going to throw up a lot of drama, because for me, if, for example, we go to an event and we collect 100 leads and we send those leads to sales, what happens if, they go to different people and it's the same lead, or, they have to be synced. There's no way around that. Unless, of course, you're, as a marketeer, dealing with different departments that are working very separately. But I would still say to think about cross-sell and really be aligned. They have to know when you're speaking to each other. So if, Tom Jones in, product development is speaking to somebody, or, Mary in sales is talking to someone, if you want to know when they're all talking to the same companies. So it does sound like not an ideal situation if you have lots of different CRM systems, and my advice would be to really look at trying to sync them together to come up with an aligned solution, so that at any point in time, the last person to talk to that client or prospect, what was said, what they've actually given feedback on, what they've looked at, their experience, all of those things, should be very, very much aligned. So I feel your pain.
Thanks for watching that, Heidi. I'll let you get on. We've got a lot of people using Salesforce, SCD, Microsoft Dynamics, a huge range of different systems people are using. But I'll let you get back to the presentation.
Perfect, thank you. Yeah, I think, where was I then? So, basically the communication software is very crowded. We've got loads of things. You go to an event, you go to Marketing Week, you can basically spend all day talking to the same type of people that are doing the same sort of thing. And so it's very hard sometimes to differentiate what you need and what's different between A and B and that sort of thing. On the content side, there are 3 comparable companies. So you've got Contently, Caphost, and NewsGrid. And those tools basically help with content creation, workflow, guest posting, measuring exactly what type of content your readers prefer and how they consume it. So they would be the top 3 that are really comparable. You've probably heard that PR and social media really converging. They're becoming very much one, and the tools are converging at the same time. So Google Alerts is a good way for a small fledgling company to track media hits. Obviously it's a free product, right? So although the flexibility is quite limited, analytics would still require a spreadsheet if you wanted to kind of analyze the data. Yeah, and then you've got, so once a small marketing department is ready to move on to something more sophisticated, you could try something like a full media intelligence platform like Meltwater, and you can use it to track all things PR and social, and we do broadcast and, TV, which is broadcast, and, online, basically everything that you would need, hard press rather. So you can do all of those things too. and you can then put them into pretty graphs and charts and make your executives happy with kind of very easy to sort of digest marketing evaluation. And then some other digital tools that play nicely. When it comes to digital marketing, it's all about automation and optimization. So marketing automation tools are built to work seamlessly with major CRM systems. So the likes of Salesforce would easily link with all of these things. So Marketo, big one, Eloqua, which is now actually part of Oracle, Pardot, which is actually part of Salesforce. We've got Acton, we've got HubSpot. They make it very easy to implement personalized marketing programs and really target to new contacts and customers. And you can create fantastic, I mean, they're fantastic things in there, like, you know, you can nurture and drip campaigns and, you know, nudge prospects down the funnel. So just a really easy way to manage your customer. There are, you know, some small companies as well. So as with CRM systems, try to choose a marketing automation system and just stick with it. Just like CRM systems, migration from one marketing automation platform can be a nightmare because, as you can imagine, they don't want you to swap. So they're not going to make it super easy. Okay, so lots of these tools have features like lead scoring, which determines the engagement threshold at which a warm prospect is sent to sales. Landing page, form creations, you know, basically lots of things to try and convince people to become conversions. They won't exactly automate your marketing efforts, but they definitely help you measure and scale. And so just to talk a little bit about the sort of nurturing or lead scoring, I'd really be interested to know if anyone's doing this because it does make a real impact. But how it works is basically you assign point value to things that people might do. So maybe they open an email from you and that would give them 5 points. And then maybe they go to your website and they go to the buy page and they look at, you know, trying to buy something, and that gives them 10 points, but they don't complete the sale. And then, you know, those sorts of points are added up, and based on that, you know, they would either go through to sales or you'd give them some kind of scoring system so you can monitor them closely and then nurture them to make sure they do go through to complete and become a sale. So we've got poll number 9. Have you tried lead scoring? Yes or no? Be interesting to know whether you have. Okay. So moving on. The other half of the digital equation is optimization software. So this is A/B testing tools like Optimizely, Unbounce, other ones, Visual Website Optimizer. They're extremely important to the digital marketing mix because they give the acquisition manager the ability to focus on conversion rate optimization. So you can test different headlines, body copy, images, as well as, you know, call to actions. So how does it work? Well, basically, visitors to your website will be randomly shown maybe 2 different pages, right? So you pick 2 pages and then you record the stats from each one. So maybe, I don't know, maybe you're selling food and you're showing people that come to your website a little boy with an ice cream, and then you show another one and it's a couple holding hands and eating an ice cream. And what you would do then is just record which one had the best conversion. So once the sample size is big enough and the results are statistically significant, the software chooses a winner based on conversion numbers. So now what you can do is, say for example the couple holding hands wins overwhelmingly, then you can optimize the rest of your website based on statistically proven choice, and then move on to the next test. So over time you basically turn your website into a lead generating machine. So yeah, in terms of what you can test a whole number of things, but the first thing you can really look at is the tagline. So one of the most important elements of your homepage, since it tells a prospect, you know, what you're all about. It can always be stronger, but you could test 2 or 3 alternatives and find out if it could be improved. You can also look at the hero image. So that's obviously the image at the top of your website, which would grab attention whilst enticing someone to scroll down and read on. You know, you can use stock art, that can also work. Custom images, screenshots, they can be better if they're tailored to, you know, what you're trying to sell or what you're trying to market. So you're not sure what to use, then you should just look at testing it. You can try testing. You can also do the form title. So this is the title of your contact form. So it's supposed to indicate what a person is signing up to get. So you can test the best way to convince them to give you their details, basically. Form fields, generally speaking, people are more likely to complete a form with less fields. That's not great for us, though, because ultimately you want more information about them. But what you can do is, test the conversion rate of a form with 3 fields against someone with 5 fields, just to make sure that what the difference is. So if fewer fields do work better, then you might want to consider progressive forms. And what I mean by that is someone comes to your website on day 1 and they download an ebook. I'm talking about water terminology now, right? But they download an ebook and they give you their name and their company and their email address. The next time they come to your website, then they have to fill out their telephone number and the size of their company. And the next time they come and try and maybe listen to a webinar like this one, then they might have to fill out something different. So you're building up a profile without overwhelming them, because no one wants to fill out loads of data. Yeah, we've all had the experience personally. That's why I've grown to love cookies. Isn't it funny that we all hated cookies before and now we all can't live without them? So, we've had the experience where you have to give data to a company and you have to fill it out, and it's such a put-off, isn't it? So having something that's easy and quick to fill out is obviously better. So the call to action, the most important part of the form is the call to action. So without clicks on the CTA, conversions just don't happen. So it's quite common to add some timeliness to your call to action. You will definitely have seen this: sign up today, do it right now, you've got this week, do it this week and you'll get a deal, or whatever it be. But sometimes that doesn't work. So it's always good to test 3 or 4 call to actions and see if you can find that clear winner. All right.
Hi, Heidi, it's Justin from the Drum again. I'm going to jump in just because Marcus Wincott's got a great question. He asked, at what sort of critical mass would you be ready to start A/B testing? He said they're a B2B company. They've got around 3,000 visits per month on average, but conversion to inquiry is currently under 1%. So are they big enough now to start A/B testing? What's your advice for that size company?
I would say, so 3,000 people, clients. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
you know what? It doesn't.
No, so 3,000 visits per month.
3,000 visitors, my bad. Okay, fine. What I would say, you know what? Why don't you just? I would definitely try it. Yes, I would say you should try it. Maybe start with something easy, instead of trying to get complicated with forms and doing 100 different things. Just start easy. Just start with 2 different taglines, and you'll see it's really quite exciting when you see the difference between the one that you thought was good and the one that your colleagues thought was good, and who wins, and it will make an impact. So I would say you don't have to go all out and do everything that we're talking about, but I would, just trying 2 different tests. It will certainly get you, it will definitely showcase whether you should be doing it, because what will happen is if you see a really clear indication that one works and one doesn't work, then it's worth it. So I would say definitely give it a try. But start small, you don't have to do it.
Fantastic. Thanks, Heidi. Back to the presentation.
Okay, so SEO, on to SEO, search engine optimization. So the software here is a little bit more consolidated. There are a few major players in the market, so Moz, SEMrush, Raven Tools. All 3 of these tools have a free trial or a free version, so that they can prove the concept before you spend your money. So that's really good. So they basically, what they allow you to do is to track inbound links, page ranks, and domain authority, and other SEO metrics. So that's something worth thinking about. And then customer marketing tools that play nicely with other stacks, if you like. So one of the main goals of the customer marketeer is to find and nurture brand advocates. So Crowdly, Intuitive, Zuberance, these are top choices for marketers seeking reviews, customer quotes, and referrals. So there's a large overlap between customer marketing and social media. So, all of these tools integrate with your social channels and allow you to be streamlined. Advocacy software helps track people historically and across platforms, and it also measures the effect of your interactions with them. So the reports that you pull, they'll help you learn a lot about the profile of your ideal, who's my ideal superfan, basically, and then you can repeat the nurturing process again and again. Okay, so now we're going to talk about generating the right reports. So all the software in the world, you could have all of these programs, you could be A/B testing everywhere, but if you can't extract the data and you can't interpret it and you can't report on it, then it's not going to help you at all. So you can have all of your team members or anybody manage the reporting process, but you'll definitely want to have your marketing team understand and interpret the reports for themselves. Okay, so if you want to have a reporting tool, if you want it to have a standardized look and feel, regardless of your combination of tools that you're having, the best thing might be a business intelligence tool that can basically ease the pain, especially if you're currently using Excel or if that's your only alternative. So Meltwater's one, we've got Tableau, you've got Microsoft Power BI, Sysense. They all allow users to create charts, graphs, data visualizations really easily at the click of a button, and each product obviously has its own learning curve, so you'll have to do some research to decide which tool really would work best for your team. But in the next sort of set of slides, I'll show you some example charts and graphs using Tableau and Meltwater. So let's look at what these reports might look like. So this one here, this is a bar chart, and this is the best way to show something like the average time on a page for the website over a given period. So each bar here is very small, if you can zoom in on that on your eyes, but each bar here represents a week, and the time is shown in just standard hours, like minutes, seconds format. So yeah, that's sort of thing that's good for. This one here, like most data sets where the components make up the total of the data. So everything here would add to 100%, for example. The sort of thing you would do these kinds of charts would be PR maybe, the share of voice would fall into these kinds of charts, reporting structures. Metrics with longer label names, it does, you know what, it's funny, it's very easy when you say this out loud, but how many times have you tried to cram that in into a vertical bar graph instead of doing it this way? It's crazy. So a horizontal bar chart really allows the full label to be displayed, and it will also allow you to show sort of 20 or 25 sources really cleanly here. Yeah, so this just shows you the social impressions by location. What else have we got? Yeah, demand gen. Oh yeah, this is interesting. So using the demand generation waterfall, so the serious decisions waterfall, the digital team needs to keep a close eye on every stage of the sales cycle. So what we do is we track, in Meltwater, for example, on my team, we're looking at how many raw inquiries we've got, how are we doing against our goal, how many raw inquiries do we need in order to get the number of MQLs that we need, so marketing qualified leads, and how many marketing qualified leads do I need to get sales to accept one, and then how many of those will turn into a deal. And you end up with a percentage, and you also end up with a number, right? Because if you know that your average contract size is 10K, and you know that you need to have, I don't know, X number of sales to reach that 10K, and how many raw inquiries you need to get to the MQL, then you can really clearly plan it all out. But the digital team would be the team that really needs to keep a close eye on every stage of the sales cycle, from raw inquiries to bookings. The best way to do it is to keep a relative line graph. So the orange line here is the goal, and the blue line is the actual performance. And if the blue line is obviously above the orange, you're doing well. If not, you've got some work to do there. What's this one? Yeah, this is quite straightforward. This is just the demand gen conversion rate. So from claim, when we say claim to close, from the sales accepted lead to when it gets closed. Let's just back on that one a second. Sometimes if you have a single metric that needs to be reported, it needs to be reported as if it's just a data set. So you can have the conversion rate here for sales accepted leads to deals won. The best practice for data is to use a pie chart, with the data making up the whole pie. At least that's what I've found. Okay, let's see what's next. Okay, so this is the heat map. SEO goals really can include the amount of traffic coming from the website from specific countries. So this one I use a lot because I cover Europe, Middle East and Africa. It's really good to know where the traffic's coming from, also similarly with PR coverage, like where are we getting the most PR? Can I see an instant click? And so you can see here from specific countries that you've been focusing on. And it's also interesting because you might see that you're getting coverage from somewhere you didn't even look at, you weren't even marketing to, and therefore you can see, okay, well I need to address that. I need to be marketing more to that region. The scale is dark red, which is the most visitors, and to dark green, which is the fewest visitors, and the grey scale is in the middle. So when tracking two similar KPIs together, like gross churn and net churn, you can use like a comparative bar chart. So this shows relative performance of multiple metrics over a given period of time. Okay, so if this is interesting if some of your KPIs deal with negative numbers. So bar charts can be positive, negative, or both. This chart really shows the net promoter score keeps trending in the right direction. And the next month's bar will be, on the other side of the zero line, basically. So these are just a few examples of how your data visualizations might look if you use Meltwater or Tableau for reporting. So tools like Meltwater's media intelligence platform include data visualizations. You can do heat maps rather. You can do graphs, you can do word clouds to see what themes are being spoken about most, and it can also be easily exported. So I know some people are uncomfortable with numbers and metrics. For many of us marketeers, our strengths are in our relationships, right? We're good at the chat and we're good at bonding with people and talking to people, and of course language and other softer skills. But if you have any way of pulling these reports, if you can get this data and pull it on a daily or weekly or monthly basis, you'll be able to track how successful you are. You'll know where you are in terms of your goals. And when you're armed with this data, you can really make informed decisions to help set your goals, beat them, grow the company, prove your worth, like prove your ROI. Okay, so whether you decide to consolidate your data, on Tableau, report from each tool individually, or stick with Excel, graphs and charts help communicate your results quickly and clearly. Actually, was talking to a client this morning about how he's actually on the board, and he is really happy with the reporting structure, because historically the board, they didn't really get marketing, they didn't get all the different different things that we were trying to talk about, and by having a really clear, pretty picture with a click of a button that contains all of the information. I mean, a picture can speak 1,000 words, right? Look at, as it says on this slide. It has really helped him showcase the ROI. So it does really make an impact. And busy executives really like to see results summarized in graphs and charts. The more your executives focus on charts, the more they are behind the data of the charts, really, and they can see how your marketing efforts are influencing the bottom line. If you can't show what you're doing, it's turning into opportunities in the pipeline, and ultimately, you can't prove that you're generating revenue. You won't earn the credibility, and you won't be able to have a voice at the table, rather. Okay. So I know you're all sad, but we're coming to the end now of our data-centric marketing in a nutshell. So no one said it would be easy. There's a lot of things to consider. Establishing a data-centric philosophy involves a cultural shift for most marketing departments. It's not impossible. So if you follow the steps that we've covered today, you will get the buy-in necessary to change team's dynamic for the better. So just to recap quickly, top tips. Number 1, establish a data-driven philosophy. Set your very clear goals, measure and report on your results, get your hands dirty and do the hard work and do all of the analysis, and ultimately earn a voice at the executive table. So having hard goals and metrics will only take you so far. But by having the data along with the right mindset and hard work, you will earn a powerful and influential voice. Okay. I think we've got
Heidi, thank you so much. I think we haven't got long left, but there's millions of questions pouring in, but let's try and get to it. Thank you so much for that. That's absolutely fantastic and full of incredible advice. So I'm going to pick some of the questions we've had coming in throughout your presentation that cover lots of different areas. So first of all, it's one from Theo Pandey. This I thought was very interesting. She's honed in on the fact that you cover lots of different KPIs for different marketing roles. What would you say was the key KPIs, or could the key KPIs be, for a marketing manager, for a media owner?
The key KPIs for a marketing manager, for a media owner. Okay, so if you could just, is there any, I'm trying to think of the detail a little bit more around the job role, right? Because as I said earlier on, the key KPIs are going to be very dependent on what your senior team deem important, and what direction the media house is going in. So I think I'd like to know if you could share a little bit more information about your position, a little bit more detail, then I can maybe give you some specific KPIs that I would recommend on that case. But I just want a little bit more information about, you know.
Oh, she's just actually sent some more stuff in. She said her main KPIs are marketing the magazine she works on, marketing events that the company puts on, and lead generation. Those are her main areas of responsibility.
Okay, so if you're, I mean, you've covered a broad range of things there, right? So if you're looking at increasing brand awareness within your target audience and making people buy your magazine a little bit more effectively, and ultimately we need to find out where is your target audience, who are they, and what do they do? Because that's what we need to figure out, right? So where are they? What are they reading? What events do they go to? And you know, if we could build up a demographic about that target audience, what do they look like? Where are their watering holes? Those sorts of things. And so based on that, what I would say is events are great for generating leads, going along, making sure that you don't just attend an event, but you also speak at the event so that you're seen as a thought leader, that people can come to you and learn more about your publication. In terms of getting PR for a magazine, that's a tough one, so I can see that would be something that would be a bit of a challenge. But how would you increase your brand? How would you increase your brand for a magazine? It would probably be I'd use a lot of social media. I would potentially look at running some webinars, hosting an event maybe, and potentially inviting the select top tier people to come along to your event that's focused specifically on learning about the industry, and everything is sort of sponsored by you. We do a lot of events here for that reason. So actually getting thought leaders together in one room and talking a bit about your magazine as well. You could look at, like, if you were to have social media as a focus area, you could look at all of the influencers within your target audience base. Lead gen, you know, in terms of SEO and PPC, I'd really recommend focusing a little bit on that. So making sure that if anyone Googles type of publication that you are working for, or you know, that you're the first person that comes up, and similarly for anyone who's Googling anything of interest that you guys are covering for your magazine. And so I would look a lot at that. So it was, what else was there? Was a lot of stuff. So it was brand awareness, it was lead gen. What other points were there, Justin?
The other points was encouraging people to attend the events that the media company puts on itself.
Yeah, so I think that this is a really interesting one, because if you run an event, how do you get people to attend? It has to be that they see value. You can't, the amount of events I've been to that have been like sales events where you turn up and someone is pitching at you, it's just, you're never going to want to go to that again, for example, and you're probably not going to tweet about it. So it's all about providing value. So I would say running an event, getting really good speakers, getting people that bought in the industry, influencers in the industry, and maybe giving them some free public PR in return for speaking, that sort of thing, and providing more than just a sales pitch, providing something unique and unusual, and that is really kind of hitting home with the target audience. I could talk about this for hours, so maybe
I can tell you can, Heidi. So let's move on to the next questions. We don't leave people out. Got a question here from Dylan. He says, any suggestions, Heidi, for someone marketing a recruitment agency? That's another challenge for you.
That is an interesting one. I haven't had that one before. Okay, so marketing a recruitment agency. I mean, the sorts of things that you would want to focus on are very similar across the board, right? So we have the same type of marketing is marketing. So you would have PR. You need to get some PR, and with regards to a recruitment agency, you would want to be featured in the publications that are talking not about recruitment, but about you know, if depending on what your agency deals with, but maybe it's about sales, or maybe it's about sales tricks. And if your agency deals in, I don't know, placing people within the retail sector, you need to be making sure that you're talking a lot about that, you're seen as a thought leader within that space, that people that are reading magazines about that are reading about you. I would say PR is a really big one. Again, it's got to be, if you're a recruitment agency, you've got to be going to all the events. I'm sure that's something that's at the top of your list anyway. And I would say social media. So when someone is, tracking the social media is really important, right? So with Meltwater, if you were to type in new job or looking for a new job, what you could do is you could have every single mention of that in relation to what your specification is as a recruiter, and you could track it and analyze it and do lots of engagement. So reaching out to people. One of our clients, the co-op, they use this actually to talk to people talking about holidays. So what you can do is you can reach out to people that are like, oh, I'm thinking of going on holiday, and then they just dive straight in and like, oh, brilliant, this isn't a suggestion for you, why don't you think about this? So tracking, listening, engaging, fundamental on social media. I think events, I think email campaigns as well. If you're in recruitment, getting a list of people that are in your industry or people that are movers and shakers or your top tier that you're looking to talk to. And also just taking a step out of the normal stuff. So all recruitment agencies are going to be doing a little bit of this, making sure that you've got your SEO really up to scratch. You're doing a cool, unusual event where you invite, the people that you need to, and you don't just have them come over and clink some champagne. You do something a bit different, maybe, So Meltwater, we're doing TED-style talks at an event that we're calling Brain Food, the Tasty Marketing Debate. And what that is slightly different, right? So you come along, you get to listen to 3 TED-style talks about your industry, about marketing, a little bit like today. How can we educate people better on doing their job better as marketeers? And then you get to have a bit of food and a bit of a mingle, and then you meet these influencers, and it's kind of different from just come along and have a network session. So trying to think outside the box and be creative about what you're getting involved with as well.
Fantastic. Now we're coming to the end, sadly. I know you could talk about this all day, Heidi. So this might be the last question. I think it's a great one to potentially end on. It sort of sums up what we've been talking about. Dan Morris, he asks, what would you suggest to instill the data-centric culture, this has been about this webinar, into the wider company? So how would you take all your great tips and advice, and how would you imbue that through someone's company?
Yeah, so that's the holy grail, right? So I think the key is that once you start putting these things into action, once you're able to say, hey, by the way, this percentage of revenue came from the work that I've done, then you don't have to, it's not an argument you fight, it's a really easy win. So I think the key is if you can start measuring your ROI, getting all of the KPIs together, actually thinking about the demand gen waterfall, thinking about where your leads are coming from and how much money you're actually contributing, then it's a conversation. Then it's just I would just have a meeting and just do an update on, this is the amount of revenue that we've managed to generate from this event. This is the amount of revenue we managed to generate from this email campaign. And this is the overall percentage that we've contributed towards bookings in the last quarter or the last 6 months or the last year. And I can tell you that once, industry standard is 30%. And you will be ranging, if you're just starting on these things, you'll be ranging between 0 to 30, I'd say. But if you can stand up in front of your executive management team and say, this is the percentage we're contributing 20% towards your overall bookings, then then it's a clear win for you. And I think that then you have instant buy-in. All of the executive management team that I know, they're interested in numbers, they're interested in results, and they're not interested in how many people liked my page. They want to know what that translates into. And as soon as you can start having that conversation, you will have a seat at the table, in my opinion.
Fantastic, Heidi, thank you so much. So Dan, go get that seat at the table. We are just over time, but people have been hanging on because it's been so good. So I hope everyone listening enjoyed it. There'll be a recording of this presentation emailed to you. You'll be able to access it online. Please drop us a line at the drum if you've got any more questions, if you enjoyed it, if you didn't. So I'd say thank you so much for Heidi. I loved today's presentation. I think you gave the audience so much.
Can I just let everyone know one more thing? So we have a Twitter chat every Friday. It's called Marketing Minds. It's at 3 o'clock for the UK, and we discuss these sorts of things. So feel free to come on board and have a listen to our Twitter chat on Friday. And also we've got loads of blogs, and we're writing about all of this sort of thing. So please go on to meltwater.com/UK blog, because it's specific specifically for the UK, and have a look at some of our stuff. You can sign up and you can start receiving some of our core content as well. Oh, and finally, Social Media Week, just to quickly let you know, we're doing brain food. So, you can come along and experience this event I was describing firsthand.
Fantastic. Heidi, again, thank you so much. And to our audience, thanks for listening and goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.